Hello, friends, and welcome to another Tech Talk. The Fedora project is about to bring forth Release 36, along with enabling Wayland by default when using the proprietary NVIDIA driver, toolchain updates such as GCC 12, as well as the freshest desktops like GNOME 42 and KDE Plasma 5.24. We've got a new Fedora Everything ISO to take for a test drive. So that's just the start for this video. BTRFS has been the default file system on Fedora for some time, with easy snapshotting and self-healing. So today, we'll not just configure the Timeshift system restore tool, but to make things actually useful, we will also configure booting from Timeshift Snapshots by setting up a special GRUB submenu. Lots to do, so let's begin. Let's install Fedora 36 Beta Everything ISO and see what's what with the new release. Just let it come up and start the Anaconda installer. And there we go. This is the Fedora 36 installation pre-release testing. Hopefully soon to be the actual release. So yes, it's unstable. I'd like to continue regardless. So let's configure the installation disk. Let's click on Advanced Custom Blivet GUI and click Done. And let's click Plus. Let's add our first partition. It'll be the EFI partition. We'll make it 600 megabytes of type EFI system partition. We'll label it EFI. And the mount point shall be /boot/EFI. And we'll click OK here. So that's simple. So we'll next click on free space and the plus, and we'll add the boot partition. We'll make that 1024 megabytes. That will be ext4. Label will be boot. And the mount point shall be /boot. And we'll click OK. All right, and for the rest of this disk, the free space, we'll create our BTRFS or BTRFS file system where we can create our subvolumes. So we'll just click OK here. And there we go. So let's click on that new partition and start our subvolumes. Anaconda creates them in the reverse order. So we'll start with the last one, which is @log. And the mount point will be /var/log. We want to keep that as a separate subvolume for what we're doing today. And we'll do the same thing with our home subvolume with @home as the name. And the mount point is /home. And we'll click OK. And finally, we'll do the root subvolume. We'll call the name @ and the mount point is / for the root volume. Okay, so let's click on the BTRFS volume here. And there we go. /home and /var/log with the correct names for the subvolumes. Looks good to me. So summary of changes also look good. So we'll click on accept changes here. Next, let's take care of my own user admin account. My name is Steven. I'll put in my super secret password here. And we'll click done twice because it's a bit simple for the password. That's okay for this demo tutorial. Then we'll click on network and host name and change the host name to F36-1 for my KVM virtual machine today. And apply and done. What's left is software selection. So today we're doing the KDE Plasma workspaces base environment. And on top of the pre-selected package combos, we like also administration tools, C development tools and libraries, development tools, editors, and RPM development tools. I always like to have that in case I have to build from source. System tools, always good to have. And we are done with the base and additional software. So all of this looks good. My time zone is good. Keyboards, language support is good. So let's begin the installation. This will take quite some time because it's downloading from the network. The Everything ISO only includes the installer and the base utilities for actually performing this system installation. So with a lot of patience, I'm going to use the magic of video editing to skip most of this so that this video isn't too long. As you can see, it's almost done. And we're just standing by for the completed message is complete. So we're ready to reboot the system. So let's do that now. And hopefully, with fingers crossed, it'll come back up. There it is. There's the GRUB menu. Let's boot the system. It's just been freshly installed. So let's see if we can't bend this to our will. Let's log in. First, I like to use the X11 session because this is a KVM and we're not testing Wayland today. But Wayland is the default even on KDE Plasma. So upon logging in, we see our latest KDE environment. So let's fix the screen resolution by going with 1080p today. And 100% is a bit too small to help you guys read what I'm typing here. I'm going to make it 150% scaling, global scale. So in order to have the global scale take effect, we must restart, as it says. So let's do that now. Okay. There we go. All right, we're back on our display manager. We're logging in. And this looks a lot better, more legible. So let's make this dark mode so I don't get retina burn. And click apply. And, that looks a little bit easier for my eyes at least. Hope it does for you as well. To each his own. Let's launch the console and get to work. It's a nice font size actually. Let's pin to Task Manager so we can launch it easily and conveniently. All right. Let's take a look and see what the mount options are as installed. So we do mount and then pipe it to grep home. So yeah, I'm not happy with the rel A time, the relative access time option, but the rest look good. Space cache version 2 is what we want, and some on-the-fly compression, transparent compression. So let's fix that by sudo nano etc fstab and fix the file system table with the mount options that I want. So we're going to append the following. This is good for both spinning disks and SSDs. And I usually have SSDs. So this works for me on my SSDs is defaults, no access time or no A time, discard equals asynchronous or async. And we'll do the same thing for the other BTRFS subvolumes. So I'll just copy and paste here to save some typing by selecting what I just added. Copy paste. That's for home and also for the log subvolume. That looks good. All right. So we're ready to reboot, but before we do that, let's reconfigure the DNF system to speed it up hopefully a little bit. So clear the screen and let's do sudo nano /etc/dnf/dnf.conf. We're going to add a couple lines here. The max underscore parallel underscore downloads equals 10. So we do some parallel downloading here. And we also want the nearest fastest mirror. So fastest mirror equals true with a capital T. And that looks good. So let's just save this file. And now we're ready to reboot. So let's do that now. There we go. A lot of rebooting in this video. Hope you don't mind. But we want to make sure this works. Okay, we're logging in. So let's take a peek here at what our new mount options look like. So we'll do mount, as before, mount, and pipe it to grep home. And we'll do a spot check here. This looks a lot better in my view anyway. You may disagree, but no access time, discard async is now in there. If this were a physical SSD machine, you would see SSD as an option. It auto-detects that, especially using defaults. It's a defaults option. Good. All right. So now we're ready to do a offline update, system update. So let's just click on Discover Updates on the bottom right, the taskbar. Let it fetch all the updates. And it's one of the things I like about Fedora is it downloads all the updates and then does a reboot to a special environment where it actually applies the updates. So we are sure that the files that are being updated are not in use. Something similar to what Microsoft does with Windows. It's one of the few things they've done right with Windows, in my opinion. So here it goes. We're doing an offline update after a reboot, and then it reboots again. So now we're ready to boot into our freshly updated system. That wasn't so hard, was it? Pretty painless. Let's log in. And, looks like we're got a freshly updated running system. Let me just go into power management here under system settings and turn off the screen energy saving since this is a KVM and I'm doing a demo today. So we don't need energy saving turned on. I think we're good. Okay, let's go back to the console and let's check the kernel version. So we've got 5.17.2-300 for Fedora Core 36. Compiled Friday, April 8th. And the good old symmetric multiprocessing version. So let's do a sudo DNF update. Make sure that we've got our databases ready to go for further work. Looks like there's nothing to do. The system is fully updated. Let's make sure we don't have any straggler orphan dependencies that we don't need anymore. So sudo DNF auto remove shows nothing to do as well. Cool, we've got a clean system. All right, so the next step would be let's launch Firefox. Let's go to the GitHub, https://github.com/Antonia I don't know how to pronounce it, forgive me. And it's the GRUB-BTRFS project. It's a very nice project. We'll be using that today for our bootable snapshots configuration from Timeshift. So, description is improves GRUB by adding BTRFS snapshots to the GRUB menu. You can boot your system on a snapshot from the GRUB menu. Supports manual snapshots, snapper, and Timeshift, etc. We'll be doing Timeshift today. Yes, var log and var are separate subvolume. So that's good. So here are the instructions for installing. We'll be following that today. We'll do the manual install because this Fedora. This project is primarily Arch targeted. So just keep that in mind. That's what we're doing a lot by hand. For our snapshot monitoring system, this is going to be our configuration. So we'll be copy pasting in a bit this portion for Timeshift to make it Timeshift compatible with the snapshot monitoring. You'll see in a moment how that works. So let's git clone this project with git clone https://github.com/Antonia/grub/btrfs. And there we go. Let's cd into the directory and take a look at the files we have. So it's a very simple text file, basically. So we'll just do a editing of the config file and make it Fedora and Timeshift friendly. So let's carefully go through here. And so we have 3 lines to change, 3 lines to modify. So the first one is, let's go down here. The first one is the GRUB-BTRFS grub dir name. And that should be /boot/grub2. It says on Fedora with EFI, boot EFI Fedora. That will not work. That'll break the system. That's a little misprint here. No, it's indeed boot grub2 for Fedora. Just a little hint. Otherwise, you get an empty grub submenu. You don't do this right. The second line to modify will be the GRUB-BTRFS make config line. And instead of user bin, it will be user sbin /grub2-mkconfig. So that's what Fedora 36 has. Again, this is specific for Fedora 36. For older releases, your mileage may vary. And the third and final line, I think it's the final line, we will modify today will be GRUB-BTRFS script check will be grub2 script check as is, so it's just uncommented. So we'll write out this config and we're ready to go. So sudo make install. So all it does is it copies the files to the correct locations, hopefully in the system, and make a GRUB-BTRFS work. So let's sudo grub2-make config -o/boot/grub2/grub.cfg and hit enter. There it is. No snapshots found. That's expected. We haven't installed Timeshift yet or done any snapshots by hand, nothing. So I don't think an error has occurred, so we can continue. So it's looking good so far. So let's reboot. Found rebooting multiple times is the golden path to make all this work. So thank you for your patience. So let's log in again. Doesn't take too long, does it? Let's open up the console and continue our configuration. Let's sudo dnf update, just to be sure nothing's changed since our last DNF operation. We'll do a sudo dnf install Timeshift. And we'll hit return here. And it installs Timeshift and its 3 dependencies. do the job. It's done. Let's reboot one more time because we want the systemd mount points to function properly. This helps arm the system for the initial configuration of GRUB-BTRFS. Doing a whole bunch of reboots today, like I warned you. All right, let's go ahead and launch Timeshift and authenticate with our password. So it detected that the correct snapshot type is BTRFS. It'll store in /dev/VDA3, which is our BTRFS partition, our third partition. Snapshot levels, defaults are all okay, including the default scheduling. Queue groups are also enabled, so we're good. All defaults we're sticking with today. So let's create our first snapshot. So we'll do that by just hitting create button. It's preparing, so it's quiescing the system and it's taking the snapshot. So let's close Timeshift and let's relaunch it. So there we go. The size and unshared columns have been updated, no longer 0 bytes. This looks good. Let's keep this Timeshift running in the background while we perform additional steps here. So the next step is to sudo systemctl edit --full grub-btrfs.path. So this is going to be our monitoring configuration file where we will copy paste what I highlighted in the GitHub project earlier. So yeah, this is, I think, for Snapper as the default. This won't work for Timeshift. So let's get rid of all of this here. And instead, let's copy paste from the project for Timeshift, what the developers recommend. So there we go. So run Timeshift backup timeshift-btrfs/snapshots are where the snapshots are stored. So this path is being monitored by the system service, so that every time we take a snapshot, it adds a submenu item for booting. We'll see that momentarily how that works. So next, let's enable it. Sudo systemctl enable --now. If you please, grub-btrfs.path, hit enter. So we've got a symlink created. So let's check the status by doing systemctl status grub-btrfs.path. Check the monitoring. Make sure that's up and running. Yeah, monitors for new snapshots. It's active and waiting. And it'll be triggered every time we take a snapshot via Timeshift. And looks like it's monitoring correctly. So we'll find out if it's correct or not in a moment. So let's check the mount system units. So there is run timeshift backup.mount. So we have Timeshift running in the background, so this works. This is the golden path. This is the key to get all this working. So let's go back to Timeshift. Let's create our second snapshot. And there we go. So now we can close. So we can always roll back to this snapshot I've just taken if the following commands or whatever I'm doing will screw up the system. Like, for example, if I type sudo dnf install neofetch. Yeah, I like to keep neofetch, but in case I made a mistake here and it screws up with my system, I can have now a Timeshift snapshot to roll back to. Let's reboot yet again. And let's wait for the system to come up. Crossing fingers, hopefully we'll see the submenu. And there it is at the bottom here, Fedora Linux Snapshots. So if your system has problems booting, you can select your desired snapshot, the last known good configuration, like the first snapshot I did. And I'll select the, not the rescue one, but the standard VM Linux kernel. Let it boot up. See, it works just fine. So that's a booting snapshot. Read-write, actually. So what you can do then, because this is booting from a read-write snapshot, because Timeshift does snapshots read-write, is you can then roll back using Timeshift to whatever store point you want. That's how you can fix your system. We won't do that today, but here's your demonstration. Cool. Let's restart one more time because I want to reboot the system into the latest state and not from a snapshot. Yes, there we go. So the boot snapshot from GRUB menu is working fine. Okay, moving right along. Let's launch the console again. Let's run neofetch, take a look at the system. So we've got kernel 5.17.2, which is, as of the publication date of this video, is the latest and greatest. The resolution. Plasma is 5.24.4. Yeah, nothing unusual here. I switched to Radeon and AMD machines, so I can't test NVIDIA anymore. 1 gig memory usage. That's not so bad. It will settle down, I found, after a little bit of use. So it's not so bad. Systemctl, grep ZRAM. We've got ZRAM running. ZRAM swap. Compressed swap within RAM, because we don't have a separate swap partition, which is kind of old-fashioned. We don't need that anymore with modern machines with plenty of RAM. As you can see, swap is configured and working perfectly. It's matching the physical RAM of the virtual machine. So again, 1 gig used. That should come down a little bit with use. So let's also install the Flatpak repository, or FlatHub repository rather. Flatpak remote-add-if-not-exists. So we don't redo this if not necessary. FlatHub, and then location is https://flathub.org/repo/ flathub dot flatpak repo. I think that looks right. We'll hit enter and authenticate with our password, and we're done. So now we have access to all the FlatHub packages if we should need it. It's a bit heavy, but again, for modern machines, shouldn't be a problem. If the security concerns, just be careful what FlatHub packages you need. All right. Yeah, let's open up Discover, which is typically included with the latest KDE Plasma releases. It's best not to be complacent. There are a lot of actual, real backup solutions available to you. One of them that I can recommend is Deja Dupe Backups. It's really simple to set up and configure. Let's install this and take a look at this one example. There are others. But Timeshift is not a real backup. It's just a convenience for quickly restoring a broken system. Will not help you with broken hardware, etc., or other disasters. Proper disaster recovery requires a proper backup solution, preferably geographically separate and redundant. So this is backups. Welcome to backups. This is actually Deja Dupe backups version 43.2. And it's very easy to set up. You can choose your backup location, in the cloud, like Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, a network server, local folders in there anyway, but with Timeshift, you're doing that. So I would not recommend local storage of your backups in case something happens with your disk. Keep backups. You should do at least 3 months as a rule. Longer if you can, if you have the storage. You can also schedule automatic backups. I would suggest at least weekly if you can. If it's a laptop, to stick with manual. But if it's a desktop or a server, automatic backups are a must in my view. So I strongly encourage you to take a look at that. Let's see what's installed with the Fedora Everything ISO, the KDE Plasma workspaces. It's pretty light installation, not too many applications installed. Browser, there's a torrent client here. This is multimedia, also Office. So in addition to the KDE stuff, we've also got LibreOffice. Let me launch LibreOffice Calc quickly and see what version is here. Should be a very fresh version. This is Fedora after all. Help about LibreOffice. Yes, 7.3.2.2. Fairly recent, from this year, 2022. Very nice. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty useful already. Yeah, there's system settings, system, there's Timeshift, of course. Yeah, pretty standard KDE install. There are the utilities, all the usual suspects from KDE and other package sources. Spectacle is the screenshot capture utility. All right, looks pretty good. So let me do system administration about the system. So there is Fedora Linux 36 Everything Edition, and pretty much the way I would set up my base image for deployment with my own equipment. Another option for managing just the system package state is the DNF rollback command, but it might not be as comprehensive or robust as the BTRFS snapshots if you remember to take them before each and every major system operation such as upgrades. I'm really impressed by this Linux distribution and its built-in tech, and seriously evaluating a wider deployment of Fedora on my own equipment. Please comment below on what you think about Fedora and your experiences. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video tutorial useful. If so, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the new videos. Until next time, have fun and take care.